So you know how I've complained a few times about not being able to shoot my MPVO out to beyond 100 yards? Well, finally I got to correct that this weekend at the range. I was able to shoot at my range's 200-yard line, and it was a blast. I had a great time. Usually what happens is that for the past few months, that range has been closed, or that bay has been closed, and so I've been restricted to 100 yards. But now finally it's open up again. It was really hot out, so no one was really at the range, so I got the whole bay to myself, and it was just such a fun time. So I'm going to take you guys along to just kind of share my experiences. Not really any lessons learned, but just more take you along for the shooting day, and bring you along for the range day. What was really great too is that the 200-yard line at my range also has steel targets too, so you can put paper and steel, so you can have a lot of fun hearing that steel ring, which I freaking love. I think that's such a fun thing to do, and it's so satisfying to hear. But also, if you want to practice using paper so you can see where your shots land too, you have that ability as well. So it was kind of really the best of both worlds. So while the 200-yard range isn't exactly the longest distance, for me it's a great practice distance before I go out farther, which I do have to qualify to use. And so this 200-yard range, there's only one of them, and the some of the platforms and stuff have been a little dated. And so what I found out is that they'd closed this for the past few months so they can kind of update it. And they made these cool new booths as well, so you can go prone and you can do bench shooting. Not in direct sunlight too. Like anywhere, but especially in Texas, the direct sunlight can be like a real killer, especially if you're out here for hours shooting. And so now you can shoot in the shade, and then you have different shooting positions that you can adopt as well. So it was a really nice surprise. So I've just set up the targets at 200 yards, paper targets. And so I noticed when I was shooting steel by groups where I wasn't always hitting where I thought I was. So I'm pretty sure my zero is a little bit off. So I'm just going to hit the the paper that I've downrange to see see where my shots land. So maybe I just need to zero it a little better. So we'll see. And so I have just a regular IPSC target, and just to make sure I have some contrast, I've also stapled an index card on it so I know where to hit. So let's see. So I can tell where I'm shooting, where I'm aiming, but I still can't see the shot too much. So maybe I'll zoom in later with the MPVO just to see. I'm still getting the rear bag down too. Had to go for one round of steel there. Okay, so I think I just did 5, maybe 6 shots
on the paper. So we're gonna go down range and see what my groups look like. I'm going less for the groups, obviously that's important. I basically just want to know right now, where am I actually hitting? So I aimed right in the center of the white index card, so we'll see how we're doing.
So I did have to walk back and forth a few times between where my targets are and 200 yards back to where I was actually shooting prone, but nice to get out, get some sunlight, get some movement, because I sit around all the time. So I finally was able to get my shots on target and to, shoot where I wanted to shoot. And so after that, basically, it was back to the steel. One thing that was really cool too about today's range session is because it really is the first time I've been able to shoot out to 200 yards, I finally got to use some of the holds in the reticle a little more. Nothing crazy, and I wasn't adjusting or like redialing for wind, but just a little bit using the different hash marks on the reticle definitely helped me get more familiar with the scope. And so the scope that I'm using is the Primary Arms GLX. It's a 3.5 to 18 by 44 first focal plane scope, and I've liked it a lot so far. Did a couple videos on it already, only shooting at 100 yards, but now I'm starting to get a little more familiar with how to really cut it, hold for wind and hold for elevation. But the scope so far has been great. What I have noticed too is that I don't crank up the magnification all the way, because I don't think it's needed. Even if I can see my reticle better, your eye box has to be absolutely perfect, which I'll show here. And you can see that if you're not perfectly aligned with the scope, you get some of that shadow pretty easily. And the tolerances for that, perfect eye box is pretty strict.
So being back at the 200 yard line has been pretty freaking awesome. I'll be honest, I thought I would just be working on my pistol today because, the 200 yard line here has been closed for a few months. But now that I know it's because they were making these booths, it's been pretty awesome. And it's just been nice being out here again. I mean, as you'll hear me complain a lot about this for the next several months, it's hot as shit out right now. It's like 100 degrees. But one positive part of that is that fewer people are out here because it's so hot. So look at all this that I have open to myself. Well, it's actually just one range. But the point is, it's a great day. Not many people are here because of the heat. That means I get more of the range to myself. It's kind of peaceful. And yeah, it's just nice to be out back at the 200 yard line.
Now, even though I'm shooting farther out here, it wasn't so windy or such a far distance where I have to be able to dial and collect dope and things like that. That's a skill that I definitely want to learn a little more, and maybe on a very windy day I'll be able to get something like that by the 200 yard range. But for now, I'm still staying plenty busy getting used to the reticle and understanding how to use it more. I did learn a cool thing. I checked in with the front office at my range that if I want to shoot, at the 3, 4, 5, 6, 8,000 yard range or however far it goes, what I need to qualify for that is a 2-inch group with 5 shots at 200 yards, which definitely sounds attainable. Well, obviously it is, because there are a lot of people shooting at that other range. But for an ordinary dude like me, I know that's going to take a bit of practice, but it's definitely something that I can do. I shot, at this range day, a 5-shot group within. 3 of those shots were, within the 2 inches, and 2 of them were pretty off outside of the index card. And so while I'm not there yet, I definitely see it's definitely going to be achievable for me. So I'm going to keep going back to the range and trying this out. A little bit on the scope itself. There are some reviews out there, but not a ton, but just as like a general overview, not like a full-on review. Again, this is the Primary Arms 3.5 to 18 by 44 first focal plane scope. It's their GLX line, so that's considered more of like a mid-tier. There's like the SLX, the GLX, which is what I have, and then the PLX, which is like, their top dog kind of tier for them. And so far it's been great. I've only had this scope for about 3-4 months or so, and I've only shot maybe about 500 rounds-ish total with the scope. So I'm definitely still getting used to it, but I do appreciate so far at least the glass clarity and then the reticle as well. I find that the reticle, first having the first focal plane style of reticle definitely helps from reticle, I've been saying that word a lot. Accuracy standpoint, no matter what magnification you're at, the hash marks in the reticle will always be accurate. But also I like that I can have plenty of information, with this Christmas tree style reticle, but also it's made in such a way where it doesn't overwhelm or overcrowd your eye box, your sight picture. You have a lot of information going on, but it's, the reticle still seems very clean and very simplistic to use, which I like, especially as someone who's a little newer at shooting at longer distances as well. This reticle also has a chevron tip, at the very center, which I initially thought I wouldn't really like. Like on the ACOG, it has a chevron as the tip, and for some reason, it's never been too intuitive to me. But for the GLX, the primary arms, I guess the chevron tip is so fine that it almost feels like a dot. And I know there's the science behind it about, infinite accuracy or something, or, whatever, because you're not actually putting your crosshairs on it. You're just, putting your target on top of the chevron or science or whatever. But it's been great. I've liked the reticle a lot so far, but I do still have some practice that I need to do to fully understand how to use the reticle. So basically I spent the last few hours just taking footage and then, shooting at the 200-yard line, both paper and steel, but more steel. And it was a great day overall. It was a lot of fun, but at the end of the day, the heat really gets to you. At one point it got to be about 106 degrees, which is just, you can only be outside for so long in that kind of heat, at least for me. So I did wrap up the day shooting my SIG as well. I transitioned from going from my M4 to shooting my SIG instead. Got a few rounds off for that for some concealed carry practice. But honestly, that was only about 15-20 minutes at most. I just, every time I was drawing and then trying to align my sights, I just felt fatigued, and it was just difficult with that kind of heat. So I got a few rounds off with the SIG, but at the end of the day, I packed it up and called it a day. But overall, it was a nice chill range session. Again, had the range basically all to myself. No one else was really there, at least at my range. And got to finally shoot out, at the longer distances that I wanted. And I found it to be very satisfying, just very fulfilling hearing that steel. And so that was pretty freaking great. So that's all I have for you guys. Really unexpectedly good range day today. Thought I'd just be working with my pistol, but instead, a good thing I brought the M4 just in case. My luck worked out for me. And so just wanted to bring you guys along. So thanks for tuning in. Catch you guys in the next one.